What do you call a shoe made of a banana? Oh my god. A slipper. So stupid.
Dude, that's dumb. That's really dumb.
What is the tallest building in the world?
The Burj Khalifa.
The library. It's got the most stories in it.
Oh, Jesus.
What do you call a beehive without an exit? Unbelievable.
Oh my god.
These are so terrible. I like telling dad jokes. Sometimes he laughs. Let's see. One more. Why do vampires seem sick?
I don't know. Why do vampires seem sick?
They're always coughing.
That's terrible.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Terrible dad jokes.
Yeah, part 11D12.
I'm part 11 too many.
Yeah. Yes. Terribly bad. Anyway, he's John.
And he's Craig.
You sure? Welcome back to ConBroSationalists.
Sometimes I'm Craig.
Yeah, it just depends on, how froggy he's feeling that day.
Yeah.
So.
Which, today, yeah.
Yeah.
Frog is my middle name.
Well, that's what I got in my throat, so.
Well, that's debatable.
Well, we won't discuss what it'll take to clear it up.
Maybe you're a vampire. Because
Well, I've been coughing. Yep, I've been coughing. So maybe I am the vampire. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm not saying I am.
I think you got too much color, though.
You think?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do. It does look a little red up there. So.
Yeah, we should have painted you up a little bit. Should have brought some of your wife's rouge.
Oh yeah. Well, I played a rouge once. Oh,
Wait a minute.
wasn't very good at sneaking around. Oh no, that was Rogue. Never mind.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. What are we doing?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
You want to try to philosophize something?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. You want me to roll? You want to roll?
I think the last time we did this, I think you rolled.
Okay.
So I will roll.
Roll.
Yeah, because we did that one, and that was terrible.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go on to the next page.
Next page. Who dis?
Yeah, new topic. Who dis? So, just figure it out.
Yeah, there's some on here.
So,
Roll a 1.
a big old fat boy D20.
Roll a 1.
Come on, no whammies, no whammies. Stop. 14. 14. Hold on. I think he has enough fingers and toes to get there.
All right. Is the concept of you continuous, or does past you continually fade into present and future you? In other words, what part of you sticks around over time, considering that the atoms that make up your body are constantly being replaced and your memories are always changing? Can I throw the book?
Yeah, wow, that was
Sweet.
so. I think I get what it's getting at. Like, how much of you remains constant over time?
Yeah, because you're constantly making new memories, constantly changing, and
I think you, like, you start forming your you when you're young,
yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so you're taught some basic concepts of right and wrong as things happen, and so the you that you have I would say the you that I am now was formed by the you that I was raised to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. With changes along changing that line of...
Right. But we're talking, like the who that I am now is just...
it's constantly based on the
fundamentals
of...
Yes, but there was just little changes in thinking.
Yeah.
Little changes in thinking, right? That made me be the way that I am now. I don't know that, you talk about it all the time, like you yourself have changed over the last 4 or 5 years, especially since your kids have come around.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have influenced the way that you think and what you see in the world, right? And it's no longer, like everybody says, it's black and white. It's really not.
No, there's
shades of gray and yellow and purple, right? Yeah. It's not this true just defined world on both sides. So I think you're constantly kind of weaving in the stream of life, kind of in and out, right? But I think the core you, the foundational you, is always there.
Yeah.
I think what you present to people is a little different. You know what I mean? But I think once you let people kind of in past those barriers and they kind of start understanding your you, then I think at that point you start to let people see the real you rather than this facade of you.
When do you think you starts, right? Because at birth to a certain time, there's like you're becoming yourself, but I don't, as an adult now, I don't remember anything that would have been like, okay, this is the fundamentals that I was raised upon.
Right.
And then every time this happened in my life is when I started thinking differently. Like, when do those core values start to where...
I think they start early. I would say even as early as, like my grandson's in kindergarten now. But I think it starts kind of before that, right? Because you start shaping a person.
Seeing the personality.
Yeah, seeing the personality and shaping that person and understanding kind of what they're like. And again, I hate using social construct as a phrase, right? I hate that because it's the environment around you helps shape kind of what you do. And if you're raised, we see it all the time. If you're raised in a negative, bad environment, what happens? You typically become a negative, bad person.
You become you
become a product of the environment that you're raised in.
Exactly.
Right. And it's not derogatory. It's just the way society has been. And it's not just this society, it's any society.
Yeah.
If you're raised a certain way where you have certain conditions, right, and you have to do certain things to survive, then that's all you know. Then that's your you. Whether it's right or wrong, you don't care. It's irrelevant to you because you have to survive. So you basically do whatever survival of the fittest is. Now, if you're raised on the complete opposite side and you're sheltered and you're taken care of and everything is done for you and you don't have to go out and do anything on your own, then that's a completely different you as well. Right? So you have both. I mean, just like everything else, you have the balanced ones and then you have the extremists on both sides.
Sure.
And so I feel, and it's not just a product of any one thing, right? Like I think the person that I am today is because of my upbringing, and it's very rare nowadays that kids are being raised in a 2-parent home, right?
Yeah, especially for their entire life.
Yes, and so
even if it is a 2-parent home, sometimes it's a 4-parent, basically, because divorce and stuff is so prevalent.
Yes. And those of you that can co-parent with, your ex, whatever you want to call them, husband, ex-wife, or whatever, those are the champions because it takes a lot for you to overcome that hurt, right? That you're contending with.
Yeah.
to be able to take the focus off your own personal pain to help
the selfishness,
help shape and mold
Yeah.
that life that you create.
Even though you have these terrible feelings, you hit it on the head. Being able to treat the person that you once loved like a decent human being, even if you don't feel that way in front of your children,
right?
So that they don't have any outward negative effects from it, has to be stupid difficult.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and I'm not saying you stopped loving that person. You're always going to love that person, but it's just that love has changed, right? So it pivots.
Yep.
Right. So it's not in the same fashion, right? Like you're not in love with that person anymore, but you're still always going to love and care about that person, right? Because at some point that bond was not going to get broken or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that then in turn helps shape that person, right? Who's trying to become whatever they're going to be, right? That helps them mold and shape their you, right? And what I was going to say is I was fortunate in that I had parents that were still together, and the only reason why they're not is, my father passed away. Yeah. Otherwise, my mom and dad, I think, would probably still be together. And so it just one of those things. And I know numerous people who are trying to raise their you, as a single parent and other kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Unfavorable circumstances, right? Where they get forced into a situation where they have to deal with something.
Yeah.
That they didn't want to choose, but that ends up shaping those kids, right? And then as you get older, you remember those things. Like, oh, my parents, at 14 or 15 or 8 or 9 or whatever, they were together, and then all of a sudden they split up, and then all of a sudden Daddy wasn't around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a product of that. My parents split whenever I was young, and it wasn't good for anybody, honestly, them being together or separate. And I spent a lot of my early teenage years and throughout, like, living with my brothers and stuff. And they became my support system, and I became my own support system. And
right.
Those hard times and stuff, I think sometimes, we talked about it earlier, about trying to get people to live up to those expectations. Mm-hmm. When you have to become an adult earlier than what you should be. Right. You think anybody can do that, and sometimes you have to look back and be like, well, they didn't live that.
They weren't taught that, right? So
they
don't know what that feels like.
Yeah,
so.
And not to make it seem like my struggle is any worse than anybody else's, but when you have to grow up and support yourself to a certain extent earlier than what most do, you have a predefined notion of like, well, if I did it, then you can too. So suck it up.
Yeah.
And that's not like, you just have to remember at the end of the day, like, well, it's not these people's fault that they had a full home and they had their support system there where they didn't have to like hope their support system was there.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess as I grew up, I guess my you would have been young and evolving, but there were a lot of roadblocks that have changed me, probably for the better and worse.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think what was fortunate for me was that I wasn't seeing just a single point of view. You know what I mean? So being active outside of the house and not having, my parents involved in every little aspect of my life, even though they steered me to do things. But once it got to the point where I was doing those things, like they didn't try to inject like their mindset. Yeah. Right. So and that was one of the good things that I got to see by, playing soccer for as long as I did. Like that helped shape me into my you. Being in the Boy Scouts, that helped shape me into my you. Being in the church, that helped shape me into my you. Even though I'm not a fan of churches as they are now, that's my personal take. That's not yours. If you're in the church, keep going. You do you. That's what this is about.
Yep.
What helped make you who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And so even though I'm not a fan of the church as a construct itself, I still believe in the Ten Commandments, right? The tenets of those Ten Commandments, and I live by those. As much as humanly possible, right?
Yeah.
I haven't murderated anybody as far as I know.
Yeah.
I haven't done a whole lot. I've done some other things, but
Nobody's perfect.
yeah. But those things have then in turn made me into who I am now.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day, I believe that you're a really good person.
Well, I try to be.
Yeah.
And just like I know you're a good person,
Yeah.
right? Even though there's certain things that we all do.
Yeah.
And we all have our boundaries, right?
Yeah.
We all have our limits. And if you get pushed beyond those limits, then you can expect pushback. That's just what happens, because now you're kind of tweaking how my you should be.
Yeah.
And you're making me do things that's not really who I am.
Yeah.
At that point, so then you just kind of that's it.
Yeah. And are you strong enough to not have those effects affect you?
Yes. And are you strong enough to not continue to revert to that?
Yeah.
Those things, right? And there's and everybody says, "Oh, we'll just stop taking drugs." Well, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's called addiction for a reason. It changes the body's chemistry into doing those things.
Well, addiction and lifestyle and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of forms of addiction. There's like adrenaline addiction, and
Yes.
like there's those people that just live their life crazy, like just constantly, because the rush is addictive to them.
Yes.
So
Skydivers, drag racers, like those things.
The rock climbers and
Yeah.
people that parkour on buildings without any safety equipment. And
70 stories in the
Yeah.
sky or whatever. Yeah,
like-
those
like,
guys are crazy.
It's crazy trying to jump from one building to this little beam. They're training to do that. Yeah, they're good at it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they want that rush of like, oh, I did it. Like, holy crap. Or the exact opposite of like, yeah, that could have went badly.
Right.
Real fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not, addiction can be many things. Unfortunately, most of the time it is of the drug sort. So.
Right. Well, drugs or alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Because it's highly. And there was a period of time, basically, when I was in the Navy, that I was basically an alcoholic, and that's why I think now, all these many years later, I don't drink all that much.
Yeah.
I think the last time I had a drink was the last time you were down here, which was
2 or 3 months.
it's been a while, So but that was because you bought me a bottle of stuff, and we had a little bonfire, and we drank and listened to some great music, and
So delicious.
yeah, it was fantastic. So, but other than that, like, I don't go out. I don't go to a bar and sit at the bar and drink till I'm blackout drunk, and then get behind the wheel of a car and do those things, because my you that was formed was said we have alcohol in, within our limits, and we try not to, blow it up and exacerbate it and all that kind of stuff, because I've seen a whole lot of the bad side of that stuff. And this was before they had the whole, don't drink and drive, just say no, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I knew kind of the results of that stuff prior to that, so.
Well, and I think that's the reason why my you is the way that it is, because I saw a lot of that growing up. I still drink probably more than I should, but it's not like an addictive sort at all. It's just like, well, I'm gonna go home while we cook and do things. I'll have a drink, but I'm never like, I need to get drunk tonight to forget about the day. Like, like some of the family life was on just an everyday occurrence. Mine's just like, well, I don't like drinking water all the time. I need something with some flavor.
Yeah.
So me and the wife will both relax a little bit, but I don't go home needing it. Like last night, I didn't need to drink last night. I don't need to drink tonight. I don't I don't have that addictiveness to where it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna drink.
Yeah, you don't wake up with the DTs and have to have.
Yeah, no, like I don't wake up or get off work like, oh, I'm gonna have a drink because I just need it.
Right.
Usually I have a drink just to relax.
Just because.
Yeah, exactly. But I think all this between the things that my brothers messed around with when they were younger and seeing some of that, and then my parents being kind of broken
right.
whenever I grew up, like I think it just turned me off to, well, I'm not going to go down that path.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to be down that path. So I've definitely drank in my day.
No, I'm not saying that. I've never had a night where I tied one on and I had to grab onto the grass to keep from falling off the earth nights.
I've definitely had quite a few of those.
Yeah.
But, as I get older, to drink like that now, I know the next day is gonna be absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
And I'd just rather not deal with it. So.
Yeah, and for me, it's one of those things, like, as I'm finding out, like, if I go and tie one on now, like, it's going to take me almost a full 5 days to recover.
Yeah.
Because it's just, like, you have to get, like, rehydrated the next day, then your body chemistry's out of whack, and then you feel like garbage for a couple of days after that, and then finally by about the 4th or 5th day, you start feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
But that whole, like, I don't need to do that stuff
anymore. Might drink like that a couple times a year.
I can't even tell you the last time I've done that.
But
Vegas. I did that in Vegas.
For multiple days straight.
Yes.
But a lot of that, whenever I do it, it's work functions.
Right.
It's our end of the year party or taking customers out, that sort of thing. And of course, these guys, the customers that I work with, work extremely hard, do some of the worst jobs, because they're so labor intensive. Like when they get a chance to get away, they get away. And,
get away and let their hair down, which I don't have.
Yeah, but a lot of times, like I can bounce back for the most part the next day, and be ready to go, if I know things are happening. But if I know there's not, I'm in the hurt locker. Yeah. And I just want to be in the hurt locker.
Yeah. Well, and that's me too, and I think one of the reasons why I did it in Vegas is I think it was the crowd that I was with. Like I felt comfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think we all did.
Because we were able to, it was 6 of us, and we were able to kind of get away and kind of let our hair down.
Yeah.
Blow off some steam, have some fun. And we didn't do anything stupid. No.
Debatable.
Some of us didn't do anything stupid.
Debatable.
I'll just put that there. But we had a bunch of fun on Fremont. We went out and rode dune buggies. We drank, we ate, we had some really fantastic food. Mm-hmm. We watched a great fight. Yep. We did a lot of good, and the fight on TV, not like a fight in the street. Yeah. I just want to clarify that. But I, even now, the trips that I've taken out to Vegas with my wife, I don't do that at all.
Yeah, no,
it's completely different.
Yeah, it is completely different. Even when we just went to Vegas, we drank. I
may have had a beer or 3, but that was it.
Yeah, we had a few drinks. Just while we were eating and stuff like that, but we were doing shows and we weren't walking around with drinks. Like it wasn't the last 2 times that I went to Vegas where we were drinking. Even when we went with the wives and without, we were drinking.
Yeah, non-stop, pretty much. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I could very easily. That could be a different you for me. If I would have just followed down the same path, but I took it as a negative thing and I was like, no, I'm not gonna.
Well, and I think in your perspective though, you also had like first row seats to the side effects of what that did.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not gonna state anything more than that because I know specifics about a certain incident. So I think that helped in your mind to shape. Like I don't want any part of that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And and again, it's a very slippery slope to kind of go down go down that path and get hung up on, right? Because it's incredibly easy. And those of you that have gone through kind of dance with the devil and come back, right? Like, I give you mad kudos because I know it's not easy. Like, I used to be a heavy smoker. I haven't had a cigarette in probably at least 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. But longer than that. But that was not an easy thing to do either.
Well, shoot, even my dad, even with, all of the early childhood stuff when him and my mom were still married, like, he had smoked since he was 13 or something like that.
Right.
And then, cigarettes and other things, and then drank. And today, for the past, like, I don't know how many years now, but he hasn't even smoking a cigarette in years and years and years.
Right.
So for somebody to start smoking at that age, never even try to quit, smoking 2-3 packs a day to call it quits.
Yeah.
Like, that's monumental.
Yeah, and I know the effects of cigarettes and tobacco, right? But I have no comparison for those that are addicted to anything more severe. Oxycodone, crack, meth, any of that stuff. Like, I can't even relate because I've never done it, right? So those of you that have literally gone down that, and danced with the devil and come back, drop us a line and let us know, like, what worked for you, right? Because I know, we're not trying to make this a conversation about addiction. It's one of those things that
it can be one of the biggest deciding factors on who you become.
Right.
Honestly.
Because and I've watched, not necessarily deal with an addiction, but I watched somebody who's had a life-altering event be a completely different person pre-event than they were post-event, or than they are post-event. You know what I mean? And I think who I'm referencing. But it's just one of those things. So we can't even begin to imagine, like, how drugs and alcohol addiction has affected you. And because I know there's some people that have gotten homeless because of it, and they've lost all their familiar support because of that drug, that addiction, whatever it is that they had. And so, we want to hear stories from you guys on kind of what was the impetus for you going and seeking help, and then what's helped you maintain your sobriety over these years. Because I know it's not easy. Like,
no.
I drive by somebody who's smoking, I smell it, and I immediately start, hey, wait, where's mine? I want one too.
Yeah.
Even now.
Well, shoot, yeah. Even without me ever smoking, besides, like, when you're out and you drink too much, and you're like, yeah, I'll take a cigarette too, or a cigar, or whatever. Like, there's days that I get stressed at work, and I remember other managers and stuff, like, at previous jobs, like, be stressed out, and I'm like, go smoke a cigarette, like, because I know. And they would come back in and be, like, ready to go, and like, the stress was gone. I'm like, man, I should throw a dip or something in. Like,
right.
If that helped them, then maybe it'll help me, sort of situation. And I haven't, thankfully.
Yeah.
But there, like, especially over the last year, there were times I was like, I need something just to take the edge off. I am stressed to the max.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I could easily throw a little snus in or something.
Yeah. Well, but again, it's that thing where it becomes almost kind of a crutch to rely on.
Yeah.
And rather than finding alternative mechanisms to do, you just resort to the old standby, right? Like, hey, this works. This is going to help take that edge off.
Yeah.
For me.
And the problem is it's always temporary.
Right.
It's always temporary. It's going to come back.
Yes.
Then you're going to have to do it again. And again and again and again.
And every time you do it, it's not like it's getting any easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You just kind of build up, and it's like,
Yeah. So, I don't know. Besides that, I think the one of the biggest altering things, besides stuff like that, the pandemic was huge.
Mm-hmm.
I've changed a lot over the last couple of years in the way that the way that I think and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know if the things in our political world and the pandemic, if it wouldn't have happened, honestly, who I would be today. I don't think I would be near the person that I am, and I think I'm way better and stronger of a person today because of the way that the world went.
I don't know that this would, like, I don't know that we would be doing this
Yeah.
if the pandemic hadn't happened.
Yeah, along multiple other things, and a lot of people don't agree with the views that I see now today, because I didn't used to have those views, but at the end of the day, like, the proof's in the pudding, and I feel like I care about people more than I ever have in my life.
Yeah.
People outside of my family. Like, I want to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, that's...
Unfortunately, I don't have tons of money and can't do things, but I'm trying to be a better person, and not that I was ever a bad person, but trying to be a better person as far as affecting other people's lives.
Yeah.
Even in a small scale.
Yeah, well, and I think one of the key things is it's always... We talk about this at work all the time. You know, one of the things that they're trying to do is change the culture.
Yeah.
And you're going this way, but you want to go this way. Well, how do you get them to go this way? You can't just stop and yank the carpet out from underneath them. You have to make little subtle changes all along the way. That's how you get. And you want to talk about debates and all that kind of stuff, but you don't flex on them and yell and cuss and scream. That doesn't do anybody any good. You hit them with facts, and you listen to their side of the argument or discussion or debate or whatever it is, and then it's just you remain consistent in your facts, and then you take little steps at a time, and that's how you get people to change their opinion on things. And the pandemic has kind of raised my. I think I told you I had a bunch of people that I thought were my ride or die people, and then I came to find out they're not, right, and like. If push comes to shove, and I'm embroiled in this shit, are these going to be the guys that are going to help me out? And I found out that they're not.
Yeah, they are not, and it's unfortunate. And maybe one day they'll think differently. Maybe they won't. Not to say that they're bad people by any means.
No.
But there was a line that kind of got drawn, and I know people think of me differently today than they did. And honestly, I don't care if that's negative or positive.
Right.
I believe that it's positive. I know the people around me think that it's positive. At the end of the day, I try to get everybody around me to push to be a better them.
Right.
No matter how big or small it is. I know that when we do the toy drives this time of year, me and the wife are going to spend a couple $100 in toys. I know my associates probably aren't going to do that. I don't expect them to. They don't even have to participate in the toy drive.
Right.
As long as they participate in something is what I ask them to do.
Yeah.
So, I think we all need to stop thinking so much about ourselves and think about the change that we can make for others.
Right.
And I think we can all be a better you at the end of the day.
Yeah. I know we can, and that again brings me back to. I think I talked about it once before, but it's Cliff Burton, when Cliff Burton passed away from Metallica, and Metallica was getting inducted into the hall, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it was Flea that came out and did the introduction. He talked about how Cliff kind of impacted Flea on his ability to play the guitar, and one of the things he said was something about like sing your song and leave your mark, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things like what this is about. This is about being able to sing our song, leave our mark, right, and move onward and upward and kind of the legacy that we'll leave behind. Because I know nobody gets out of this alive. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that when my time is done, did I do everything I could have possibly done? Did I? I don't know.
Probably not.
But I still have a long way to go and a mountain to climb.
I know I always want to do more, and the toy drive for me is bittersweet every year because I always think that it should be more than it is. And
right.
They're always so grateful for how much we do. And I always, that's my biggest thing in life that I always have the biggest problem with is those expectations of,
Right. We're our own biggest critics.
yeah, and knowing that we could have gotten bigger, but when we don't, like, I take it personally, even though I had nothing to do with it. It
Right.
was just, people just. It's a tough time of year for people to give back.
Well, and it's, I think this year it's tougher than probably what has been in the past
Yeah.
because you've got post-pandemic, you've got all the inflation, you've got all the crap that's going on. Cost of living's gone up. I mean, everything, it's just stupid expensive right now. So those of you that can, I don't know when this is going to come out. This is probably going to be after the holidays. Based on our timing, it's probably definitely going to be after the holidays unless we switch it up. But
Yeah.
which we very well could. But the thing is whatever you can give is whatever you can give, and like we've always talked about, it doesn't have to necessarily be money, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be straight up cash. Your time.
Time, energy.
Yeah,
is
the
huge.
fact that you may know somebody who has something that this person can use, that's a resource that's definitely needed.
Instead of selling it to them or whatever, like, do you need it? How is it going to impact your life to give it to somebody? Probably not.
Right.
Or maybe you're in a point that you can go buy them one, or you needed to upgrade.
Yeah.
And you can afford to give them yours. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
It's the little things in life that I think go a long, long way, and people continue to forget that. And like I said, I think if everybody were to pitch in, we could all be better than what we are today.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that I look at. I look at some of these people who have made a phenomenal amount of money, right? And look at how much they've honestly given back. And what they've earned versus what they've given back doesn't necessarily translate very well.
No.
But if you can give anything, right? Just every little piece counts. And I think that's the thing is I have to give this monstrous amount of money, or I have to give this grandiose object, as a sign of, my ability to do. No, that's time and effort. That's some of the biggest things that they need.
Yeah.
Because Habitat for Humanity, right? They don't want anything other than you to come and like pound on a nail with a hammer, help them build a house, right? That's just one of the things that they do. Or, go read books to sick kids in a hospital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or dress up in I think it's one of the colleges. There's a hospital built right behind the football stadium. And I think in between like the first and second quarter, or the third and fourth quarter, they all turn around, they bring the kids to the window, and the entire crowd waves. That's absolutely awesome, but that's just a little thing that they can do right then and there, and that requires nothing more than somebody to turn around and wave. That's it.
Well, even like so my kid's school this year has enacted like a Big Brother Big Sister sign up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like typical Big Brother Big Sister to where like there's a kid that needs some help and he needs a big brother, like he needs another outlet. They were making like everybody sign up. So now they've got kids from the high school coming to the elementary to spend time with these little kids that have similar interests or whatever and can just have like work together.
Right.
So
give them some direction.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of cool to see stuff like that because that could have, hopefully at the end of the day, my kids entrust in me and my wife and can tell us anything that they want. We've always tried to parent that way on, we're not going to hide stuff from you. We want you to know the facts of life.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully in turn they'll do that for us. But if not, then this could be one of those avenues that changes and molds them and, maybe makes them a better you at the end of the day.
Right.
So
I know you can get into a lengthy conversation about what makes you and what shapes you, but I think we're going to cut this one here.
Yeah.
Because we've gone on. It's 40 minutes, give or take. But this is one of those topics that you could talk hours and hours and hours on.
Yeah.
And if it's garnered enough interest and we get enough feedback on it, maybe we'll come back and revisit it again in a little later. But this philosophizing question is a whole lot better than the last one we got when I think I was too dumb to understand it. But.
Yeah, I think we were just a train wreck on that.
Yeah,
like you said, it was either that simple or we were just that dumb to not understand what the question.
I'm gonna go with the latter. I
Probably.
I kind of felt pretty dumb after that one. So.
Yeah, I kind of did too. So.
But this one I think is kind of right up my alley. So.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap it up. We'll leave it there. But by all means, drop us a comment. Leave us some feedback about kind of what made you. And if you can, and I'll reread the question for you just so we kind of leave it on that note. Is the concept of you continuous, or does past you continually fade into present and future you? In other words, what part of you sticks around over time, considering that the atoms that make up your body are constantly being replaced and your memories are always changing? So I think we covered it pretty well. So I'm John.
And I'm Craig.
And we'll see you next time.
It's amazing.